All right, welcome everybody. We will just start with a land acknowledgement. Those of us here in Anchorage live, work, and play on the ancestral lands of the Dena'ina people. We thank them for their past, present, and future stewardship of the lands we are on. Welcome to our Understanding Municipal Government series. Pull up my slides here. Okay, so this series happens on Thursdays, starting today and going until July 22. My name is Naki, and I work at Alaska Literacy Program as a student integration. And this series was put together in large part due to our peer leader navigators who have done an amazing job advocating for their communities and wanted to know how to be the best advocates by understanding their local government here and what are ways that they can continue to advocate for the community and have their voices heard. So we put together this series with community partners, Anchorage Public Library and the Catholic Social Services. And this will lead up to a civics fair that will be happening in Mountain View. So we'll give some information about that at the end as well. Our speakers today, we have Schawna Thoma and Suzanne Fleek-Greene. Schawna works at the Northern Compass Group, where she gets advice to businesses, unions, and nonprofit organizations. She previously worked as state director and senior staff member of the U.S. Senator Mark Begich. Schawna worked on policy and legislation about aviation, transportation, workers' rights, travel and tourism, fisheries, public lands, and more. Schawna worked for Mayor Mark Begich from 2003 to 2008 as Deputy Director of Economic and Community Development for the Municipality of Anchorage, where she worked on economic development projects including the Dena'ina Center, museum expansion, and downtown development. Schawna spent 5 years as Chief of Staff for Senator Johnny Ellis in the Alaska State Legislature and has served as campaign manager and field director on many political and bond campaigns. She graduated from Eastern Michigan University with a bachelor's in public law and government and journalism. She serves on the board of directors of Visit Anchorage and the executive board of the Anchorage League of Women Voters and participated in the 2018 Citizens Police Academy. Schawna is married to Michael Powell and lives in Anchorage, Alaska, where she enjoys skiing, hiking, and being in Alaskan wilderness. And we also have Suzanne Fleek-Greene, who will be speaking second. Suzanne currently serves as superintendent of Lake Clark National Park and Preserve. The park and preserve are about 100 miles of from Anchorage and encompass over 4 million acres of wilderness areas, volcanoes, lake and river, and rich coastline along the Cook Inlet. Before joining the National Park Service, Suzanne worked as Chief of Staff for Anchorage Mayor Ethan Berkowitz and as State Director for U.S. Senator Mark Begich. Suzanne's public service background also includes working for the Municipality of Anchorage in the Office of Economic and Community Development, the U.S. Senate in Washington, D.C., and as Presidential Management Fellow with the U.S. Department of the Interior. Suzanne was born and raised in Alaska, living in Yucatan, King Salmon, and Anchorage. She is a Sea Alaska shareholder and tribal member of Central Council and Tlingit-Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska. Suzanne has a BA and Master's of Public Policy from the University of California, Berkeley. So I'll pass it over to them. As if people have any questions, we'll have time at the end for questions, or you can feel free to put it in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. So I'll pass it over now.
Thank you, Naki. Am I off of mute? I unmuted myself. Okay. Thank you for reading that bio. I'm exhausted listening to what we've done, Suzanne. Again, my name is Schawna, Thoma. I'm here in Anchorage enjoying this beautiful evening. So all of you get lots of extra credit for being here on your Zoom on a really nice Alaska summer night. I am thrilled and really honored to be able to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, and also to be presenting with Suzanne Fleek. Suzanne and I have been I've followed each other's path in our careers for the last, I don't even want to say how many years. I was lucky enough to work with Suzanne at the municipality of Anchorage under Mayor Begich, and then also worked in the US Senate together, and that spanned a lot of work and a lot of time. But it's been a wild and great ride. The reason I'm excited to talk to you tonight is because I love government and learning how it works and being a part of making things work. And I actually don't know many other people who think that or would say that. Most people have sort of an automatic, I hate the government, hate paying taxes. And I think it's because mostly people are scared of it. In some countries, maybe even some that you're from, the government is the enemy. And the governments have been known many times in the past to do terrible things to its people. But in the United States and here in Anchorage, it's different. And we are very lucky for this time in history to have a democracy and to have a very little democracy here in Anchorage. And I want to tell you the good news is that it works. It does work. And I think it's harder to explain that sometimes to people who have only been in the United States their whole life, because they don't appreciate how well it works. Is it perfect? No. But can you be a part of it? Yes. And you can be a part of it just by doing this. This is powerful information. And the other thing is that it's pretty simple. If you can get past the idea of being worried or scared, there's so much that you can do and understand by a few simple things. So I worked in City Hall in Anchorage with Suzanne, as you heard, and I was in my I was pretty young, even younger than I am now. But I was the Deputy Director of Economic Development, which that's because the mayor then, Mark Begich, really wanted younger people, and especially women, to be part of a team, which is really, really great. It's exceptional in a leader to want that. He wanted to make sure that in those years, there were lots of people with new ideas running the city. Plus, it's really hard work, so you've got to keep up a lot of long hours. The municipality of Anchorage is fun, and it's small, and it's fun to work there because even though it's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, it's very immediate. City government is everything that you see here. It's not far away. It's right here in your neighborhood, and it's everything you see that happens every day. Some of you, while I was standing here hearing the introduction, I heard some sirens go by, some police and maybe a fire truck. Well, those are municipal services. That's the city government working. There's an emergency, and those people are racing over to save somebody right now. It hopefully won't snow right now, but if it snows or it rains a whole bunch, I was at City Hall when it rained so much, everything started flooding immediately. We got a big dump of rain, and but the municipal agencies race out to try to dig people out of the snow, clear the streets, or fix a flood. It's just things that happen every day. We don't even notice they're happening. One very basic thing about how do they pay for it? Who pays for all that? So if you pay rent or you own a house, a little bit of your rent goes to the owner to pay the taxes. And if you're a homeowner, you pay taxes every quarter. And the municipal government takes everybody who's living here, they gather up a little bit of all of our money, excuse me, a little bit of all of our money, and they pay for police and fire, and for firefighters and police officers, and the cars, and the snow clearing equipment, and even the public utilities, although some of those are privatized now. They gather up our money and they just pay for stuff, fixing the potholes, fixing the streetlights. Have you ever thought about how the streetlights work? They just work. If there's a light out, it's chaotic, but they almost never go out because the city pays for it, so you don't have to worry about it. The city actually owns an airport. I hear an airplane flying over right now, right there. It doesn't crash into anything because there's city money paying to make sure that the air traffic is organized. They work with the big airport and make sure it's safe. Even if you go swimming in a swimming pool in Anchorage that's owned by the city pays that with all the money we pay, and they make sure there's a safe swimming pool for you to swim in and you won't burn yourself on chlorine. If you go to the park, any park, or the coastal trail, that money was also, they took all of our money, put it together and paid for things. Isn't that great? It totally works. It's amazing. People say all the time, I hate paying taxes. I hate paying taxes. Well, I, Schawna Thoma, love paying taxes because I didn't have to do any of that stuff today. I didn't have to worry about anything. I drove around town. The lights are on. There's no flooding. If there is, I'll call somebody and they'll come and help. If you've traveled around the world or lived around the world, some places don't even have street signs. You have to just know where to go. In Anchorage, it's organized. There's traffic going one way, there's signs. So all of that is what municipal government is. And they use our money carefully. There's not a lot of it, but those things are essential services. And there are essential workers who do those jobs, and they're also paid for with our tax money. It's the same at the federal level. All the people complain about paying taxes. It's the same. We get federal highways. We get national airspace so airplanes don't crash into each other. That's our tax money just working. And so in municipal government, you can see Anchorage. If you have driven to Girdwood or Eagle River, that is also part of the municipality, also paid for with, they gather up taxes too. We pay for things. Even in those communities, they tax themselves to pay for things, even though we're all part of the municipality. So just wanted to get that really big picture of what we're even talking about. And a couple quick things about it. This past couple of years have been really crazy. And in 2018, there was a big earthquake. I know Shannon Coon's on this call, and Shannon was working at the city during some of this time. We were rebuilding from a big earthquake in 2018, and the city was taking the lead on this crisis. And then we had a pandemic in 2020. The municipality has emergency response, a whole team, and a public health arm too, to just deal with it, to take care of people, to take care of what has to happen to keep us all going, to make sure we can still get through the streets, that there's still order and law, and that there are still functional lights and clean water for people. And those things, that's what I mean when I say we have to really appreciate that this democracy works and that our government works and it's not corrupt. It's not corrupt. Isn't that amazing? Nobody's getting paid off to do anything. I didn't. I got a paycheck, but I worked hard for it. But it's not corrupt. We get tax money and we spend it, and it's all very it's very public. So the assembly, the Anchorage Assembly, are people who live in your neighborhoods. The Anchorage Assembly are people who are just like you, who thought, you know what, I want to do what I can to fix the potholes. So they run for the assembly. They don't get paid very much for doing it. It's not a full-time job, but they wanted to be part of making things good and safe for everyone else. And that's really nice. The Anchorage Assembly are people who are moms, they have dads, they have jobs, they own businesses, they all have other things they do. Plus, they do this volunteer job of being on the assembly. And it's a very powerful position in Anchorage. There's a lot of responsibility. They look at all the tax money we gather up and they approve the budget. They're the ones who get to say what gets paid for and what doesn't. So that's a big responsibility, and it's not easy because everyone has different ideas of what should get paid for with how much money. So the Anchorage Assembly does that. And I guess if there's one thing I want you to remember, well, two things. One is that the money is taxes and it pays for everything that just happens every day that we just appreciate. And the second thing is that the assembly members are people just like you and just like me. Our assembly right now, you've probably already covered this, but our mayor is an acting mayor and it's our woman, which is the first time that's happened, which is really exciting. She's young, she's an attorney in town, she's really smart. She was on the assembly and she was nominated by her peers to take over being the mayor for a few more weeks here. And that's a big deal. That means, I mean, anybody, any of you can be the mayor. Any of you can run for the city assembly. They make decisions they meet every 2 weeks, approximately every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. And anybody can go. All of you can go. You can go and sit and watch them. They talk to each other. They go back and forth. They debate things. They also stream their meetings on the internet. It's a little bit behind the times technologically, I'd say, but now you can at least watch the meetings and they record everything and they also do transcripts of everything. It's not corrupt. It's really plain democracy. They have a job and they do it. And it's messy and it's good, bad, and ugly, but it works. And I just want you to know you can be a part of it. Your assembly members are people who live near you because the Anchorage is divided up into districts. And one person runs to, we recently added an extra person to represent downtown and Mountain View. That was last year, I think. I've lost track of anything that happened in 2020. We all did. But it's so that every part of town has someone representing them on the assembly. If there's a problem in your neighborhood or you just want to meet your assembly member, you can call them up. You can email them. They will meet with you. It's amazing, you know, since there's someone just like you, if you ask your assembly member to meet you because there's something you want to discuss, chances are they will do it. They love meeting their neighbors. They love meeting their constituents because not that many people go and talk to them. Usually only mad people. So if you just want to talk to them, you can and you should. I'm going to do a quick share screen to show you. And I know you're going to cover this in a couple of weeks. I'm going to see if I can do it. Can you see it, Nucky? Can you see okay. This is the assembly front page. They hardly even keep it up to date. It's kind of slow, but that's okay. There they are. That's what they look like. On this, here's this meeting calendar. They've put it out every year. It's the same. You can go anytime. Well, you know what's going on? It's a little bit mysterious. It's just like showing up at, you know, a giant board game that you've never played before. You'll figure it out. They also, everything's public. There's information about the people and what they're doing. And they put a lot of things on the website here. And you can email everyone. Now, see this contact us. It goes right to your email. You can email every single assembly person. Now, I like the idea of just emailing your assembly person, and there is a list on here to contact them. I think it's on this link. There they are. You can look up where you live. Maybe Suzanne will cover that. And you can go like Christopher Constant. He is the assembly person for downtown. And you can email them. Look at that. Their email and their phone number are right here. I just showed you that just because it is accessible. It's public. It's not corrupt. And it is relatively easy to use. Like I said, the city is not the most technologically advanced, but you can get information on the internet, and they do now stream all their meetings. Many of the assembly members came through the community council system. And I think Suzanne's going to talk about that. And that is just their neighbors who get together to talk about issues in your neighborhood. And assembly people, there's some people just want to be involved. Some of you may, some of you may not. People have time and they don't. But if you are interested, you can go to your community council meetings, and the assembly looks to those meetings for ideas, and they look to the people in the communities to tell them what's going on and what they don't like. For instance, there have been there was an instance a couple of years ago where a developer wanted to put an 800-unit apartment building in my neighborhood. And the neighbors said, no way, we don't want that. We're trying to be more of a neighborhood. We don't want a giant apartment building. And they really pushed back, and they fought hard for not having something happen, and it didn't. The assembly listened to them. That's the other thing I want you to know is the assembly does listen to people. They have meetings at the LUSAC library, there's an auditorium there, and they also have meetings at City Hall. And when people come up and testify, they do take note, they do take notice, and they do change their minds. I remember Debbie Osiander, a woman from Eagle River. She had her mind made up when she got to the meeting about something. But after she heard testimony from people like you, she changed her vote. She changed her mind. It's different than other things. And since we all live here together, they have to listen to you, and they will. Do they always do what you want? No. But you will feel better about yourself by just making sure you at least tell them how you feel. I would say the hardest thing about the assembly is actually knowing what's happening when, because it's hard to really understand it all, because like I said, it's like a game you've never played before. You have to learn all the lingo and all that. And at the Anchorage Daily News, there's no one really who covers the moment to moment of the assembly. And so we need that. We depend on writers to make the information something we can all understand. However, the assembly is getting better, and this clerk's office at using Facebook and making little newsletters and letting people know what happened. And at the community council meetings, if you ever go to those, the assembly members usually give a little report. And some of them have little newsletters they send out to tell you what's happening and what's going on. So signing up for anyone's Facebook, that is signing up for your own assembly person's Facebook page, or getting their newsletters, is a really helpful thing to do to help keep you in the know. I'm going to have to wrap up there because I have to go to do something else, because suddenly there's all kinds of visitors in Anchorage too, which is good for our local economy. There's lots of tourists. And I'm helping a group of folks from out of town tonight. But that's another thing that really matters. Tourism dollars really matter. In Anchorage, one of the ways we pay for things like the convention center, and we even built the museum, is there's something called a bed tax. So every night there's someone sleeping in a bed in a hotel in Anchorage. That hotel pays a little bit of that money, and we pay for things like our beautiful Denina Civic and Convention Center downtown. So I support that. Last year was really hard on businesses and the Visit Anchorage Visitors Bureau organization. But this year's better, but it's sudden. So it's a little bit crazy out there. So I'm pitching in tonight to help with some of that. Someone just asked, how can I get newsletters? Maybe Suzanne, you can. They are all individual. So some people do little newsletters and some don't. So it's good to start looking to see if various folks have Facebook pages. We could actually ask, maybe as part of this class, of this workshop, ask the assembly which ones have newsletters you can sign up for and send that out to everybody, because it's one by one. They do it on their own. And the clerk's office is doing a little update now, which is nice. You can also sign up. Anybody can sign up. Here's a little secret. Any one of you can sign up to get press releases from the mayor's office or the clerk's office. And that's nice too, because when something happens, they always tell it, but it doesn't always end up in the news. So you can sign up for those too. Just do a little bit of snooping around and you can find those things. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I hope that my brief comments are helpful. And now when you drive around or walk around or go to a park, you can think, I helped make this happen. I do own a little bit of this. I love my city because a little bit of my work and my money goes to pay for all these things that take care of me and my family and my friends. So we don't have to worry about it. Someone else does. So thank you all so much. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And then,
Bye, Naki.
yes, thanks so much. And we'll pass it over to Suzanne if she's ready.
Okay, sorry about that. I am ready. I had to change computers, relog on, and then change rooms really quick there. You might still hear some background noise. So if that gets too bad, I might change rooms again. Sorry, we have some construction going on in our house that is occurring right now. But can you guys hear me all right? Okay, great. Well, Schawna went through a lot of things. We split this up a little bit so that Schawna would talk more about the assembly and I would dive into the executive branch of the government. As you heard in my introduction, I worked in two different parts of the executive branch. I worked for Mayor Ethan Berkowitz and Mayor Mark Begich, both in the mayor's office itself, but also in the Office of Economic and Community Development. And I will say, first of all, elections happen and administrations change, but generally what I'm going to go over tonight stays the same. Sometimes they move boxes around on the org chart, but generally it does stay the same. And then I'm also going to take a minute at some point and actually go to the Muni website and just kind of drive you around a little bit on the Muni website to help introduce you to really what I believe is the best access point for figuring out how to engage and get a response from your city government. So I'm going to try to share my screen and go to my PowerPoint. And we're going to hope that this works. There we go. All right, can you guys see that? Let me, sorry, I don't work in Zoom a lot. I work in Teams much more. So I'm going to start here. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of the municipal government. And I will stop at the end and happy to take all kinds of questions. But as you can see, this is a beautiful Anchorage skyline in the winter. So Schawna kind of got to this too, but my overall point is no matter who you are, how long you've lived in Anchorage, whether you pay property taxes or not, whether your kids are in the Anchorage schools or not, whether you use any of the services, and like Schawna said, you certainly use some of them. My bottom line is this is your government. Everybody inside this building, which is City Hall, works for you. Their number one job is to serve the residents of Anchorage. And that's all the way from down south in Girdwood to north of the city in Peters Creek. And it's all of our responsibility to make the municipal government and its staff responsive. So you should not let them say no. You should press them to work with you to try and solve your problems. Now, not every problem can be solved by the municipal government, but a lot of them can. So in my presentation today, I'm going to talk about sort of the city leadership, who it is, how they get there, the city departments, how you can participate in the city government and make your voice heard. And then I'm going to end just with a quick view of the municipal utilities, because Anchorage is a bit unique in that we used to own 3 municipal utilities. We now own 2, which is good. It's actually good for the city that occurred. So we'll just jump into it here. So first, what can the municipality do for you? So here are some of the questions, and I'll just tell you the answer at the end. The answer to all of these questions is yes. Yes, the city can help you do all of these things. So when you're asking yourself the question, you know, oh my gosh, I have this problem, who do I call? I would say probably 8 out of 10 times you can call the city and get some sort of a response. So you have a pothole on your road? Yes, you call the Anchorage City Streets Department to fill that pothole. You want to throw a birthday party at a city park? Yes, you call Anchorage Parks and Recreation, and they have a great website that lets you book a picnic shelter, a barbecue area for a birthday party. Your road hasn't been plowed. Yes, you call Anchorage Public Works and complain that your road has not been plowed. My only caveat is that in Anchorage, there are a lot of state roads intermixed with municipal roads. But if you call Anchorage Public Works, they will help you get to the state to get your road plowed. So again, it's a good place to start. Let's say there's a mattress that's been sitting on the sidewalk in front of your house for weeks. Yes, you call code enforcement at the city to help get that mattress removed. Let's say you feel guilty that you're always throwing away the carrot tops and you want someone to take your veggies. Yes, all your discarded veggies, you can call Anchorage Solid Waste Services, who picks up your trash. They now have a composting program that will also come pick up your vegetables, and you know that it's getting turned over for someone's garden. You need help learning how to start a business. Yes, again, the answer is the city government. Actually, the library has some wonderful online services. One is called lynda.com that is basically the universe of teaching programs that you can access for free to learn all sorts of things. Let's say you want to figure out how to change the spark plug in your car. Yes, you can go to the library and check out a book to learn how to do that, or go online and use one of the lynda.com services. There's a vacant house next to you that is got graffiti all over it, and maybe there's, you know, people sleeping in it. Yes, again, you call the city to help you get that house boarded up and turned over. This is something that Mayor Berkowitz worked really hard on, is now under code enforcement, the city actually can take that action. Cars are speeding down your road and you're worried that your kids are going to get hit by a car. Again, the answer is yes. You can call the muni government. The traffic department at the city will come out. They will actually put that little black line across your street. They will count how many cars are going there. They might put up that speedometer thing to tell people they're going too fast. And they will see if on average people really are speeding down your street too much. And if they find that it is, they will evaluate the options to force cars to slow down. There's a loose dog in your neighborhood that is scared and might get run over. Again, the answer is yes. You call animal control, which is part of the Health and Human Services Department. and they will send someone out to help catch that dog, or if you caught the dog, you can take it to animal control. They will try and find the owner, and if not, they'll try and get that dog adopted by someone else. Let's say you're a new parent, you're a new mom, and you're struggling to pay for groceries. Again, yes, you call the municipality. The municipality actually runs the Federal Women, Infants, and Children's Program. Shannon knows about this through the Health and Human Services Department. And they can help you get signed up for the WIC program that will help you feed your young children. Will the city help me find a job? Again, the answer is yes. The municipality actually has a great partnership with the Alaska Department of Labor, where at a number of libraries around the city, they put on pretty frequent job placement fairs, where they not only come in and will coach you on how to write a resume and conduct an interview, but they will also try and match you up with people looking for employees. So that just gives you some sense of what the municipality is there for and how you can access it for many, many things affecting you and your family. Okay, so who runs the government? On the right-hand side here of the chart, Schawna already talked about the assembly, which are the people that you elect to our city council. We call it an assembly in Anchorage, but in most places it's the city council. And then also every 3 years, we elect the mayor. So it was Mayor Berkowitz, acting Mayor Austin Quinn Davidson, and July 1st, Mayor-elect Dave Bronson will become mayor. And so I'm going to talk more about the left side of this chart here. Under the mayor, there's really some key departments that then manage everybody else. So there's the municipal attorney, which is really the lawyer to the mayor. Doesn't mean it's the mayor's lawyer, but it gives legal advice on city operations to the mayor and other city departments. They also give legal advice to the assembly. The Office of Management and Budget, they write the budget every year, they track the dollars, they collect the property taxes and other revenues, and they report to both the mayor and the assembly on how the city is spending those dollars each year. Information technology, these are really back of the house folks that just keep everything running at the city. But they also make sure that all of the technology is working at public places such as the library, some of the parks that have Wi-Fi and technology capacity. And then there's also the municipal manager. So the next set of boxes, the municipal manager, the chief fiscal officer, and the Office of Economic and Community Development are sort of the next rung of managers that then oversee all the city departments. So there's the municipal manager, who typically oversees the public safety departments. So Anchorage Police Department, Anchorage Fire Department. Under some mayors, they oversee the Department of Health and Human Services. And then the municipal manager also oversees the Anchorage Utilities, which again, I'll get to at the end. The chief fiscal officer is one that most of the public really doesn't work with very much, except for when you're paying your taxes. But the chief fiscal officer oversees the Office of Budget, the accounting department, the revenues department, the tax assessor, all of those, dealing with all of the money that comes in and out of the city. And then the chief fiscal officer also oversees any loans that the city takes out. So in the last few years, the city's taken out a number of loans to help retrofit some of our municipal buildings to make them more energy efficient. Those loans are handled by the chief fiscal officer. And then there's the Office of Economic and Community Development. Currently, that person is Chris Schutte. And again, this one changes mayor by mayor, but generally this department does exist, and they oversee the planning department, the permit center, which if you're building anything in Anchorage, you need a permit for that. And so that falls under this box. Also the library, the Parks and Rec department. So a lot of the assets of the city, I would say the lands department. So the city also owns a lot of land that is not designated for parks or something else. And so this department oversees the lands department. But probably I would say most people interact with Parks and Rec, the libraries, and then the permit center when it comes to this part of the municipal government. Okay, how to make your voice heard. Schawna talked a little bit about some of this. There's a number of ways that you can do this, and you know, Anchorage, I think for a city its size, actually has a ton of ways to participate in the government. Usually, either the mayor or assembly members are having town hall meetings or community meetings. So a lot of our assembly meetings have monthly constituent town halls. The mayor, a lot of times, will have constituent town halls. Mayor Berkowitz held these at a number of the middle schools just to get regional diversity, where the public can come and ask the mayor anything you want to. Or sometimes they'll do a town hall on a specific issue. Mayor Sullivan had a series of meetings on education reform when he was mayor. Mark Begich had a series of meetings on the budget and how we can reform the budget process and diversify our revenue streams. So like Schawna said, those are typically announced either through press releases from the mayor's office or through Facebook and other social media. So I'd encourage you to follow the mayor's account to keep on top of those opportunities. And then, as Schawna mentioned, community councils. And this is something a little bit unique to Anchorage. Not all cities have this, but it is a very grassroots level of government. And on the right-hand side, you can see all this community councils that we have. And you can actually go to muni.org, and if you put in the search block community councils, you can find this map, and you can also just put in your address, and it will tell you which community council is for your home. And these community councils have monthly meetings. They vary by council, but usually it's like the first Thursday, second Tuesday, third Wednesday of the month. They don't meet in July and August, so don't rush right out and try and attend a community council meeting, because most of them will not have them anytime soon. And they elect community council boards. So you can, if you want to, you can run for that board. And the thing about community councils, they are useful in two ways. One, the mayor typically goes to the community councils to get their recommendations on where to invest public work dollars. So every year the mayor puts forward a budget on roads, bridges, sidewalks, sort of construction projects. And they go to, the mayor will go to the community council and say, give me your recommendations for what you want fixed in your neighborhood. So there's a whole process that the council goes through to decide what the priorities are. The community councils also typically host many different city departments to come and talk about various issues. Almost every year when we have proposals for new bonds, which is where you're taxing residents, property owners in Anchorage, a certain amount to say pay for repaving 36th Avenue, or building a new library in Muldoon, or fixing 10 parks around those are all on bonds. And so the city will come to these community council meetings to really get the word out and answer questions about those bond proposals. And then they host a whole bunch of other things. A number of our state senators and representatives attend those community council meetings every month. So it's also a good way to track down those representatives. And then I won't talk about the assembly, Schawna did that, but of course, one important thing about the assembly that people often forget is they vote on policy, they vote on the budget, they do all of that you see every other Tuesday night at their meetings, but they also provide services to constituents. So if you don't think the local government is being responsive to you, if you are having a hard time getting your street plowed, you should call your assembly member. It is also their job to help you make the government work for you. And that's frankly, Elfie Gray Jackson, one of my all-time favorite assembly members, was exceptional at this. People would call her all the time, and she would help make sure the city was responsive to their needs. So call your assembly member if you're having problems with the local government. Okay, lastly here, I do want to talk briefly about Anchorage Utilities, because these two work for you. They work like for-profit corporate entities, but they're not. They are not for profit, and they report to the assembly and the mayor. So they report to you. Like I said, the city used to have 3. We used to run Municipal Light and Power. It was sold last year to Chugach Electric. But the 2 that remain are the Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility, which is responsible for the water that comes into your house and for the waste that goes out of your house. So if a pipe breaks and all of a sudden you're not getting water anymore, you should call AWU. That's their nickname. Their acronym is AWU. And they have a great website. Also, the other utility is Solid Waste Services. They pick up the trash for most of Anchorage. They run the landfill out by Eagle River and the transfer station off of Dowling. So if you want to do your recycling yourself, you can take it to their transfer station, and most likely they are picking up the garbage in front of your house apartment on a weekly basis. But like I said, they also run many other things. If you're trying to get rid of an old refrigerator, you take it to the transfer station. If you have a whole bunch of paint that you need to get rid of, you don't just throw it away, you take it to the transfer station. And I will say they, I think, are one of the best run city solid waste services in the country. They really do an excellent job, especially given all the extra challenges of living in a winter city that is not connected really to any other major cities in the lower 48. So I will stop there and let me do a time check. Why don't I stop for just a minute and take questions on that if there are any. And then in the meantime, I will also just go to the Muni website and we can take a look at that really quick. So let me stop and see if there's any questions.
Anyone can feel free to speak up, or if you prefer to write in the chat, we can read it that way too. But I was curious, when you were showing that diagram with the municipal manager, chief fiscal officer, the economic and community development, are those positions all appointed by the mayor, or do they change, like, are they consistent, or do we elect them in some form?
That is a great question. All of those are appointed by the mayor. In fact, every department head is appointed by the mayor. That doesn't mean that the mayor would hire or fire anyone in particular when they come in. A lot of the department heads, the mayor just rolls over from the past administration for the most part. But definitely the municipal manager and the municipal attorney, the chief fiscal officer, those higher level ones are definitely appointed by the mayor every 3 years. Are there other questions? Okay, well then let me take just a minute here and I will share my screen again because I do want to go to the Muni website and do a very, very quick tour because hopefully many of you have been on this website before, but if not, let's go take a look here really quick. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again and we are going here. Okay, do you see the front of the municipal website? Great. Okay, so this actually has gotten revamped in the last 3 years. It looks a lot better than it used to. But a couple of things, and Shannon can definitely speak to this too. She is more of an expert on it than I am. But one of the things that Mayor Berkowitz did early on in his administration and then worked on continuously was language access. We all know that Anchorage is one of the most diverse cities in the country, and over 100 languages are spoken in the schools, which does, provide an obstacle for some people being able to access their government. So one thing that Mayor Berkowitz wanted to address is to get more translation opportunities for when people call the city, and if English is not their primary language, that they can still communicate. So almost all of the city departments now have a translation service that when you call, they can connect you to. But then also over here in this block, just this select a language button, if you go there, there's a drop-down menu, and you can see you can go to all these different languages so that you can get material online in whatever your primary language might be. So there's that I really wanted to highlight. I also want to highlight a couple of things that I think are important, and you'll see these blocks here, right? The size of the blocks, frankly, are a response to how many people go to the municipal website and what they typically click on. So these boxes get featured because they looked at the history of the web use for the city, and this is what people are calling about. They're calling the mayor's office, they're calling the assembly. More recently, of course, they're calling about COVID. They want to access the fire department or the police department. There's a loose dog. They're trying to figure out the bus schedule. So that's why these buttons are on the front page. But over here on the right-hand side, you can see another menu, of course, that kind of tells you a secondary list of a lot of the most important things that people are asking about at the municipality. So in the winter, it's a beautiful sunny day right now, but this is one of the things that I love. I'll just click on it, the Snowplow Status Map. Everybody in Anchorage wants to know when the darn snowplow is gonna come because they can't get the car out. This map is something that our street maintenance department developed so that you know how many days, how many hours it's going to take to get your street plowed or your sidewalk plowed. Now, right now, again, it's summer, so this isn't reflecting anything, hopefully, thank goodness. No snow out there. But you can see the stats on what's been plowed, what hasn't been plowed. And then you would be able to click on your neighborhood and figure out when the snowplow is coming. So, love it. Responsive government. Okay. Another key thing that people ask a lot about, and I won't go into because it's super complicated, but this operating and capital budget, there's a great tutorial on here if you really want to know how the budget works and how the money comes in and how the money goes out. So I would recommend that to you. This one right here, nuisance property reporting, is also kind of new. Again, this was an initiative of Mayor Berkowitz's for a lot of the abandoned and boarded up housing around Anchorage. So if you have one in your neighborhood, you can go on here, report it, and then code enforcement will start to address it. And then lastly, right here, like Schawna said, sometimes it's hard to figure out what's going on in the city, but at least this is a good place to go if you want to know the public meetings that either the mayor, the assembly, the community councils, or any of the municipal departments are having. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of them. You won't recognize most of them. But if you're really mad, for example, if you're really mad about the fact that the library was closed during COVID, you could go to the Library Advisory Board meeting. They're all public meetings, and you could complain. And you could tell the city to do better. So especially in the winter, there's a lot more meetings. In the summer, not so much. But it is a great resource for you. Okay, I will stop sharing. Because really, I just wanted to give you that quick look at the website. Again, it's a lot better than it used to be. And I think it provides a lot of wonderful information. So I will stop, and I am happy to take questions, but also I just want to say I really appreciate that all of you are here tonight. It's a beautiful evening. It shows your dedication to the city and also being advocates for all of the people that you work with. And we strive very hard to be an inclusive city. We don't always succeed, but the more people that are involved and speak out and hold their city leaders and departments accountable, the better we will become. And I do firmly believe that. And I'm sorry, you can probably hear the background noise, but that's construction. Are there any questions?
Looks like there was a question in the chat, and it's about the assembly. We have 1 week that's designated to talk about the whole assembly process, but maybe you can just give a little bit about what are the ways that you can briefly participate in an assembly meeting or submit testimony. What are kind of generally how you would participate in that way?
Sure, yes. There's a couple of ways. One, probably the easiest, is you write to your assembly member. They all, again, if you go back to the website, there's a button just for the assembly, and it lists all of them. It lists their phone numbers and their email addresses. So you can send your assembly member an email. Or if you are brave, you can also go to an assembly meeting. The assembly meets every other Tuesday, and they always have time blocked out at the beginning of the meeting for public testimony. And you can talk about anything you want to talk about. It doesn't matter if it's on the agenda or not, you can talk about it. Or you can look at the assembly agenda, which is also posted on the website. And if there's an issue that you have a concern about, you can specifically request to testify on that issue. Now, under COVID, it was a lot stricter when members of the public couldn't go into the assembly chamber. They are going back to normal, I think, next week, where you can just show up, sign up on the spot, and testify on the issue if it's on the agenda that evening.
And another comment in the chat, I really loved that list you had in the beginning of all the different reasons that you might need to contact your government here. Is there any graphic or something that we can easily share that's like, if you have this issue, call this number? Any good resources that you come to your mind that we can easily share?
That would be really handy, wouldn't it? I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but what I will do is I will go look on the website. I have to believe that would exist. That's a really good idea. So I will go look on the website, see if I can find something, and I'll email it to you so that you can then distribute.
Great. And this one question might be a little bit separate than what we've talked about today, but I wonder if you could briefly talk about how the municipal government relates to tribal governments and kind of how they work together or coordinate.
That is a great question. So Anchorage is very lucky that the Eklutna tribe is just north of the city, between Eagle River and Peters Creek, actually north of Peters Creek. And they have their own government, their tribal government that they run. And the relationship with the municipality has been on and off, depending on the administration. Mayor Berkowitz actually, and Mayor Begich too, specifically signed an agreement of a memorandum of agreement with the tribe to try and coordinate services and to do government-to-government consultation with the tribe when the city was taking actions affecting the tribe. So essentially, we will ask you what you think before we do something that is going to affect you, since you are a sovereign government. I tell people you should really think of a tribe as being on the same level as the United States of America. So we wouldn't do something that affected the federal government without talking to the federal government. We cannot go over to the land managed by the Bureau of Land Management and just start digging holes. We have to go talk to the Bureau of Land Management. So it's the same thing with the tribe. They are a sovereign government that has rights and responsibilities endowed upon them through their treaty negotiations with the federal government. And the Eklutna tribe is recognized by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I will just check the chat here.
Any other questions from the participants here tonight?
Oh yeah, Shannon, you asked a good question. Does everyone know who their assembly members are? So if you go on muni.org, back to that website, and you click on the assembly button, I think there's two ways that you can do it. They have a map, but you can also put your address in there and it will tell you who your assembly member is. Let's see. Let me give it a try here, Lori. Let me go back. Let me just pull up the website. Clicking on assembly. Okay, my computer is spinning. Oh, whoops, I missed it. All right. As soon as I click on the right button here, I'm going to share my screen, okay? Hold tight. Here we go. Okay, let me go back to Zoom. Oh, I also see this question. I am new. Do I select the assembly members? Yes. If you are registered to vote, the assembly members also have 3-year terms. They can get elected 3 times, so they can serve a total of 9 years. They have staggering elections. So every year, except for, just to make it more confusing, except for when the mayor's election is, every year 3 members of the assembly are up for re-election. So it depends who your assembly member is, whether or not you will get to vote for them or not this upcoming year in 2022. Our assembly elections are in April. Actually, all of our municipal elections in Anchorage are in April. It should be the first Tuesday of April every year. So yes, you do select your assembly member, and you do so by voting when they're up for election. And if you go to the assembly website, you can see when their term is up. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. All right, I am sharing my screen now. Okay, so Lori, this is as close as I could get on the spot. But these are the district maps. So if we click here, it's spinning. It is still spinning. All right, we see lots of mountains. Okay, so you can see which assembly district you are in. Like Schawna said, there's an additional assembly seat that just got added, but it will not go into the effect, I think, until next year. So right now, Anchorage, downtown Anchorage only has 1 assembly member. Otherwise, every other district in Anchorage has 2, but starting, I believe, next year, downtown will also have 2 assembly members. So you can just figure out where you live on this map. You can zoom in and out if you need to, and you can see which district you are in. And then let's go back. If we go to, on here, they have, that is not what I want. You can see what who your assembly member is and when their term is up. So I'm going here to my member profiles. Assembly members. Hopefully it goes here, right here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, downtown, if you live in downtown Anchorage. So if you go back to that map and you see that you are in District 1, Chris Constant is your assembly member. And you'll see down here, his term expires in 2023. So he has a year and a half left on his current term. So you can vote for Chris or you can vote for someone else in 2023. And then right here, like I said, this is the contact list. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this is the contact list. If you click on that button, you can find their email and their phone number. The other thing Here it has a bio on Chris. You can see that he is currently the vice chair of the assembly, which means that he runs the meetings when the chair cannot. And then he's on all these subcommittees, which I won't get into. You don't really need to know that much about the subcommittees, but he is on a number of subcommittees. Then you go down, if you live in Eagle River, Crystal Kennedy is one of your assembly members and Jamie Allard is the other. West Anchorage, Cameron Perez Verdia. Oh, and it's like the other West Anchorage assembly member is Austin Quinn Davidson. She took a leave from the assembly and they did not have anyone fill her seat while she was acting mayor. Midtown, your two assembly members are Felix Rivera and Meg Zolotel. East Anchorage, Forrest Dunbar and Pete Peterson. South Anchorage, Suzanne LaFrance and John Weddleton. All right, okay, I will stop sharing again and see if there's any other questions. Okay, I don't see anything else in the chat. So I will stop there. And again, thank you everyone for participating this evening.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I will just quickly share my screen just to let people know what we'll be talking about next week. Next week we'll have, we'll be talking about the different levels of government, kind of comparing the US federal level, state, and municipality to kind of explain who are the different people we vote for in different elections. Because it can get kind of confusing, the timelines for those, and then also just how does the money make it from the federal government down to the municipality. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. And then just a reminder that our community series will end with a civics fair on July 26th. After our 6-week Zoom, we'll be outside at the Grownwood Farm on July 26th. Hope everyone can join us then. And just want to share information if anyone needs information about the peer leader navigators. Most people are very well aware of them, but just wanted to share their contact information if there is anyone who needs to be in touch and get some assistance. All right, I think with that, if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for your time, Suzanne. We really appreciate it, and we'll call it a night and give people some chance to enjoy a little bit of sunshine here.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Of course. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.